Alright, so what I have here is a Traxxas Slash 4x4. This was originally a platinum model, so once I remove the wheels you'll see the aluminum bits and the GTR shocks, you can see those. So I'm going to begin by removing all of the electronics, including the motor and the tires. So this process is actually quite simple. Now, something to note is this is not the stock ESC. As you can see, it's pretty obvious, not the stock motor. My friend replaced the electronics, so he has a Gould RC ESC and he has a Castle motor. So one of the first things you want to do with these vehicles, you're going to take your 2mm driver and you will simply go ahead and open up the receiver box. So the receiver box, you're going to have a total of 4 screws, and 2 of them will open up this little area here, right here. And this will give you access to the cables. This is where the wires go in. There's usually some petroleum jelly or some type of jelly there to waterproof them, as advertised. But you will remove that and you will have access to this. Once you do that, you'll remove this wire and there's this screw and this screw over here. So you'll remove those 2 and the entire top part will come out. Now the receiver box can be relocated. It just depends on the individual. In the case of this particular truck, it's sitting there because my friend added this brace here on top. If the brace were not on top, you can relocate this receiver box up here, which is where the Stampede 4-wheel drive has the receiver box. Stampede 4-wheel drive and Traxxas Slash 4-wheel drive, they're very similar, basically the same thing. The other one just has a slightly shorter tub. And it's also higher up because of suspension. But you can easily go from one to the other. So you can convert one into the other. Alright, so at this point I'm going to go ahead and just disconnect these. Now with the stock Valinian system, it would be the same thing. You just disconnect these wires and everything would be good. So once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and just disconnect everything from the receiver. I could pull the entire receiver out. I believe there's some screws in there I'm going to have to remove. So let me pull the receiver out. If you have the stock receiver, you can just grab a driver. It's just double stick tape on all of them and it just pries out. Make sure not to break this and set this aside. This is what helps with the waterproofing. And here we go. So now we have a screw here and there's going to be a screw right underneath this tape. So I will have to remove this tape and then I'll just retape the ESC once I reassemble this. And to reassemble, it's just the opposite process. You can use a variety of different double stick tapes on here. I like 3M. 3M makes great products. Some ESCs come with some extra tape, so you can use that for your receiver. And then some receivers may come with some, I'm not sure. But here we go. So this is the box. And I'm going to go ahead and remove this part too. You need it 2mm here. I will have to remove the sway bar. Well, just loosen it here in the back. So that's 1 and 2. Now, one quick little thing to note is these tubs do break. So as you can see, my friend's tub is slightly broken in there. At some point I'll probably just apply some CA glue for now. Another breaking point for these tubs are here and here, which is why this brace is recommended. So the way he has this set up, it's a 2.5 for the front 2 screws. So it's just 1 and 2 for the front. And then the rear will be a 3mm in this case. Really not sure if these screws came with the brace or if these are just screws that he had. It's pretty rare to have I've never seen 3mm heads on a common Traxxas vehicle. By common, I mean a Slash, Stampede, Rustler, Bandit, which is why I'm surprised. All right, so here, now I'm removing the electronics except for the servo, so I'm not removing the servo. That'll be for later, once I do the front end. So let's go ahead and pull this out. Now you're gonna need a 0.5mm driver, and that's gonna remove the little set screw right in here, which will allow you to pull this antenna tube. Once the antenna tube comes out, that's it, your antenna is out as well. So we can go ahead and just grab this and set it off to the side. Now you can see the differences here. If yours were stock, there's a hole here, there's a hole there. That's where the ESC would mount. And if you were going with an aftermarket system, for example, Hobbywig, they generally include a plastic plate, just like this. This may actually be a Hobbywig plate. And that plate would have sat 90 degrees offset to this. Well, just rotated 90 degrees and would have screwed on there and there. So this is something that he jerry-rigged to make this work. It works, why not? There's different ways, but we'll go ahead and remove this. We may need to clean the tub. Now this truck here already has a PureTech battery tie system, and I do recommend these. These are a lot better than the stock ones. I used to have a 4-wheel drive Slash, very similar to this one, and this mechanism would constantly pop out, so the battery tie would pop out and the battery would fly out. I actually just damaged one of my 3S batteries that way, but here we go. So now that we have that, we can move on to the motor. Now, the motor, what you have to do first is, well, if you're gonna set the mesh, you're gonna be doing it over here, so you will have to remove this. So let's go ahead and remove that, even though we do not need to for the purpose of this, to remove the motor. To remove the motor, you just need to remove this one. But this way I can show you. So it's 1, 2, and 3, and this should lift off. And, oh, actually did not need to remove that one, it's just this one right here. All right, so I removed this extra screw, you only need to remove this one. That one you can leave in. This one you're gonna remove to take this whole entire thing off. So I'm just gonna set it there. At some point I will be removing this. All right. So now to remove the motor, you just need a 2.5 driver, and this is how you set the mesh. So in order to set the mesh, you would actually just get this close, stick a little piece of paper there, roll the car, get the motor mount close, and then once you're at the desired distance, you just hold this and tighten little by little. But in order to remove, which is what we're doing now, we will just pull that screw out. And when you pull that screw out, the motor will be loose. And the reason why is it just has this little fork design on the bottom, and that's what holds it on the bottom. So it pivots on that little section, as I will demonstrate shortly. So here, it would be able to pivot, and if I remove this, that's that little part right there, right in here. All right, so other than that, let's just say you were planning on replacing the motor. All you would have to do is remove this set screw, move the pinion out. That's going to be either a 1.5 or 2 millimeter depending on the gear that you're buying. Then you're going to need a 2 millimeter driver for this screw and this screw, and then the motor mount will come off, and then you can swap it out on the other one. But other than that, this is the motor, so we've removed the motor now. We'll set it off to the side, and that is it for this section. Now a quick little note. For this here, this is just a regular battery tie. As you've noticed, it goes in there and then it just clips on here. Not too big of a deal. But now we're going to move on to the next part, which will be the front end. So next video will be the front end. I will remove this and then eventually start disassembling everything.
What? Oh, my hair! My tongue! My room!